Hey everybody, I'm Anxiety Offline, and today I want to show you how I go about making my bricked obstacles here. So since I released these have been a pretty popular obstacle on my website. People seem to like them a lot. I enjoy them myself a lot too. This is one of my most used pieces right here. And I lay all these bricks by hand, and today I'm going to show you my method for how I do it. So let's get into it. So first big question, where do I get the bricks? The answer to that is usually Amazon, but if you have a hobby shop near you or a dollhouse supply store, you can probably get them there because essentially what they are is dollhouse bricks. They're made with real concrete, just like real bricks are. They have a little bit of that coloring in there to kind of make that brick red color. And the ones I use are pretty tiny. They're about 3/4 inch. I think most people would think they're probably too small for fingerboarding, but you'll see in this video they work out just fine. And when it comes to glue, I use a bunch of different glues for everything I do, but for this specific application, I like to use the clear Gorilla Glue. It has a decent amount of forgiveness and kind of a slow drying time, and it's kind of gummy as well, so when we go to pour our grout around it, they kind of just fit nicely and stay nicely kind of within that. So I choose to use the clear Gorilla Glue. I think it works best. That might differ a little bit on your humidity situation or your weather situation or kind of what part of the world or country you live in, but that's personally what I use. And I'm not sure what the pattern's called, but in real life, bricks are laid like this, where the middle of one aligns with the connection of two. So basically what I do is I do the edges first, and I know that this specific obstacle has room for about 5 rows of bricks. So I'll do the left and right sides, kind of getting each row situated. And then from there, I'll work my way in, doing 1 row at a time. And on this specific obstacle, I usually start from like the barrier side, work my way out. It's kind of easier to glue things that way. But from here on out, you just kind of want to glue all your bricks in place. And you want to follow some kind of pattern. I thought about mixing it up and doing really crazy crisscross patterns. I need to kind of cut a lot more bricks, and it could be a little more intensive. I did a round bricked obstacle before. That was probably the hardest one I've done, but it did turn out really cool. It just took a lot of cutting of the bricks to kind of get them to fit that shape. For this specific one, we're going to lay them like this. I think it's kind of the easiest way to do it, easiest way to get started. But once you kind of master this or learn this, you kind of branch out from there and do different patterns, different styles. And here I am cutting the bricks. I use a pair of needle nose pliers, and I fit the brick all the way in the back of the needle nose and then clamp it down, and then it chops it right in half. The sizing might not be perfect, so I'll kind of go around and see which ones fit best where, and then if needed, I'll kind of I'll chop them down further. You want to make sure that the bricks go all the way to the edge and everything is lined up nicely. You can even take a ruler or some kind of like straight edge, kind of fit that between the bricks or use it to kind of line things up. And once this glue sets, it is pretty set. You do have about 10-20 minutes or so to make any adjustments. So make any adjustments, make sure everything looks really good, and then put it somewhere level to dry. You want to make sure it's somewhere level because if you put it on an angle at all, your bricks will definitely move and be out of place. Next thing you want to do is take some painter's tape and wrap it tightly around all your bricks. And I do it level to the bricks. That way I have an easier time kind of smoothing it out later. And then make sure you're fully covered all the way around and the bottom as well. And then we're good to go start applying some grout in the middle of all this. All right, so from here, I kind of make a little bit of a more watery mix of concrete than I usually will. Not too much, just a little bit more water than usual. And what that does is it helps make the concrete a little bit more fluid, and then it can seep into all those gaps between the bricks. And if you get any concrete on your actual piece you're making, you don't want concrete to be there, try to wipe it off as quick as possible, or just don't let it dry there too much, because once it dries, it's going to be a lot harder to take off than it will be when it's wet. And from here, it's a process of kind of squeegeing in that concrete to all the gaps, making sure you have no air bubbles there. You probably want to give it a couple taps, tapping it down, just to help any air escape or expose any air bubbles. And if you do get any, just kind of take a dab of concrete on your finger, smooth it out over the bubbles or the gaps, and just kind of fill everything in. Make sure it's all nice and uniform. And your tape is level with your bricks. So you can use that to kind of slide your finger over the top, and you can kind of clean those bricks while making sure all the concrete is in those gaps. Tap it down really good, making sure there's no air bubbles or gaps or any spaces where there's no concrete. Make sure if you do see any, just take some extra concrete, fill it all in. It's probably drying a little bit by now, but it's all good. You also want to clean off your bricks as much as possible, just making sure your concrete is in the gaps and not on the bricks. It's a lot easier to clean off now when it's wet than it will be later, so it doesn't have to be perfect, but just kind of make sure it looks as neat as possible. Before you go though, give it one last shake and look for any air bubbles. If you see anything, smooth them out, of course. All right, it's been about a full 24 hours. We got our dried pieces here. So now let's get them finished up. The first thing you really want to do is take the tape off. All right, so we're gonna give them a quick wash in the water and see how much of this extra concrete we can get off the bricks. So it did a pretty good job cleaning this up. The only thing is there's some concrete left on the bricks here. Those corners can be hard to get in sometimes, so the easiest thing I found to use is a trowel. So what I do is just kind of get the trowel in the corner and then just scrape. You can also use some sandpaper. And then I do like to sand the edges of my bricks too, where the grinding surface is. And I found these bricks sand easier when they're wet, so you probably want to keep them wet while you sand. There we go, now it's done. Let's do this other one here. Alright, so here they are. They're really wet right now. I just kind of washed them off. Let them dry really good and then give them a good clear coat with some lacquer clear coat. Alright y'all, here's the finished ones here, and the last thing you want to do is apply some clear coat to these. And I opt to use a lacquer clear coat versus enamel. And I'll put a picture on screen, but I use the Rust-Oleum brand. It comes in a green can. I'll put a picture right there for y'all. But I put a couple layers of that on here. You want to do a lot very light layers versus like 1 or 2 very heavy layers. I'll put a layer on, give it 10, 20 minutes, apply another one, and repeat maybe 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 times at the very most. And then I'm left with this. As you can see, it's almost like, it's very, very glossy, almost like a mirror. Not quite, but almost. One looks really good as well. And they are super, super smooth, even though there's bricks, laid out throughout there. It just feels like it's all one piece. If I didn't know any better, I would have thought like I had like a sheet of bricks or something that I was like laying down, like they already had adhesive on them. But this is all done by hand, as you saw. And I love how these skate as well. Nothing compares. It's just a tech deck here, but that like sound and that feeling is just really unique and very, very fun, I think. Kind of gives you some added like ASMR, some added sounds with your fingerboarding sets too, which I don't know, that probably sounds dumb, but I think it's pretty cool. And you can't ignore the aesthetics of this as well. It just looks super, super dope. It's very fun to just look at, in my opinion. I keep mine pretty much on my desk all the time. I'll put stuff on it or whatever. And real quick Easter egg, but if you're into Hot Wheels, I know y'all see my collection. I got a pretty, pretty big one on these walls you can't see over here. These make awesome Hot Wheel backdrops. So a Hot Wheel fits perfectly, right there. It's a cool spot to like take a picture or even a display. You probably fit, at least 2 on there, but that's one cool thing about these. I think they double as a very, very cool spot to like take a picture of your Hot Wheels. So once you apply the clear coat and it dries, you are pretty much all good to go from there. Throw some tape on the bottom. I didn't put any grip tape on the bottom of these yet, but throw some tape on the bottom and you're good to go. You might need a little bit of wax to get going, but besides that, you won't really need much maintenance for these. These bricks will wear in very, very nicely, and as they do, they'll get smoother and smoother. You might need to wax it, I don't know, once a month, once every couple weeks or so, but in my experience, they get pretty smooth and they wear in very nice. So that there is the full process that I use for doing my brick obstacles. And if you have any questions or if I missed anything, please drop it below down in the comments. I'd love to answer them. And that is really about it for this video. So don't forget, both of these are for sale right now on my website, anxiettyoffline.com. You can go and purchase either one of these. Right now, they're both available still. I also still got some decks available and some bushings. So go check everything out, anxiettyoffline.com, and go get yourself something cool. But either way, that's it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. Please hit that like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't. It seems like 80-90% of people aren't subscribed to my channel and watch videos. So if you want to keep up with the new content I release every single week, hit that button down below and I will see you in the next video. Got a lot more content coming up, so stay tuned, stay shredding, and I'll see you next time. Peace.